Hi, welcome to Chapter 2. How do monsters reflect their time? So this is the essay prompt for Chapter 2. And as you can see, just like in Chapter 1, we have a whole number of the authors of the different articles and the questions. What you'll need to do, of course, is to look these up in your textbook. There's far too many, obviously, for them to be printed out. Now, here's the thing. You don't really need to turn your thesis in until after you've done the reading for the entire chapter, which is why we're doing the discussion threads on the questions from the essays first, so that you get some exposure to the different articles. Then you'll need to make a decision. What excites you the most? What do you find most interesting? What do you think you could write the best paper about? That's the attitude I think you should take as you approach Chapter 2 and deciding which question to write on. Now let's talk about the due dates. The final draft, of course, is due on October the 12th by 11:59. That is nearly a month away, which sounds like a whole ton of time, and it is a lot of time. But I think we learned in Chapter 1 that procrastination does not work. Now, I don't expect you to be writing your essay tomorrow. But what I do expect is you to start thinking about this so that by the time October 12th comes around, you have written the finest essay you're capable of doing. As always, be sure to follow the out-of-class essay guidelines for matters of form and style. Again, those guidelines, if you have misplaced them, are on Canvas. Okay, they come with a video explanation as well. Okay, so the guidelines are not just sort of casual advice. There are actually things I expect you to follow. So please make sure you do that. Your essay, of course, should have a word count at the end of your essay. Please remember you must meet minimum requirements, including word count, sources, and subject matter. No late essays will be accepted without some sort of medical proof that you have gotten terribly ill or injured. Hopefully neither one will happen, obviously. Now, just like we did in Chapter 1, we're going to break down into two intermediary steps. The first will be the thesis statement with the topic outline. That is due Monday, September the 28th. Again, almost 2 full weeks away, which again allows you the opportunity to have read all the essays, to have looked at the discussion threads about the essays before making a decision about which thesis statement you want to write. But that will be due Monday, September the 28th, about 2 weeks from the posting of this, 11:59. Be sure to have MLA citations for 2 sources. Last time it was 1, this time it's 2. But I want to be sure that you understand that this time around, none of those sources can be from the textbook. They must be sources that you got from some sort of research. Now, if you are not familiar, I do have a 3-part video on the triangle of research. If you have not watched that video yet, or videos plural, please do so because they show you how to use the library resources. And quite frankly, you're going to need to do that in order to accomplish some of the minimum requirements. As normal, there is a participation grade, and I do give video feedback on your thesis outline and citations because I think it's super, super important. As we did in Chapter 1, the class will be divided into peer editing groups. These will be new groups. Okay, so I'm going to newly formulate the groups, shake things up so we're working with different people. But the instructions on how to get to those peer editing groups are still the same. Once the new groups are made, which will be shortly after the thesis statements are submitted, right, you will be submitting rough draft and peer edits to those groups, right? Just like we did in Chapter 1. So remember, the way you get there is to, once you're in Canvas, go to the navigation menu on the left-hand side, go down to where it says people, then people will move you into the groups. There should be only one option for you to access because you only belong to one group. Once you get into that group, go to its little mini Canvas page, if you will. Go to where it says Files, and that's where you will upload your rough draft. Now, the rough draft will be due Wednesday, October the 7th by 11:59. Okay? But remember, you need to turn in your rough draft 2 ways. To me and to the group. You're not going to get full credit if you don't turn it into me on time and to the group on time. Okay? So we've done it all before, so we should be familiar with the process. The same thing applies with the peer editing sheets for Chapter 2. They will be submitted to the group and to me by Friday, October 9th by midnight. So that gives you 2 days to work with other people's rough drafts. Presumably, hopefully, it could be as many as 3 rough drafts written by others. You fill out the questions and you submit them so that your peers can see what you said, and to me, so I can give you credit for having done so. Now, the minimum requirements. We're still working with basically 1,000 to 1,400 words. Okay, so relatively, what I would consider a relatively brief essay, somewhere around 4 to 5 pages, basically. The strong essay structure, including introduction, concession, rebuttal arguments, main body, conclusion. If you're unclear about what a good essay structure looks like, again, I would encourage you to go back and review the videos I made about the argumentative essay. Now, you need to have citations from at least 4 different sources that originate in print or have print analogs. What does this mean? Originate in print or print analog means that this was in some manner a print-based source, such as a book, a magazine that has a print copy, journals, or newspapers. It could be government reports, right? Those are also print-based, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to get them in print. That's why it says the word originate, right? So if you go to the Mesa College Library, you go to our library website, I should say. Given the coronavirus, you will not be going to the library itself. But you go to the library's website. You have access to books that are ebooks. Those count. You have access through our databases, such as EBSCOhost and JSTOR, although we have many, many others, that are essentially what we might call subscription services. They take what is in print and they make it available to you online. So all those will count towards your 4 sources. None of these sources can be in our textbook. You can use the textbook, of course, don't get me wrong, but what you need to do is, in addition to the textbook, get at least 4 other sources that originate in print. Now, this doesn't mean you cannot have other sources. You may have websites, you may have movies, you may have TV shows, right? But that's great, but that's beyond the minimum. Now, here's the real tricky part. It says 2 sources at least must be from peer-reviewed journals or scholarly books. What does this mean, and how do you find them? This is where scholarship is published, in peer-reviewed journals or scholarly books. Peer-reviewed journals are very different from magazines and newspapers. Magazines and newspapers are essentially editorial review, right? They have editors, they choose what to publish, right? They're written by journalists or other writers. But peer-reviewed journals are strictly for writing that meets certain high academic standards within the field. And we say peer-reviewed, what happens is this. A person, let's call that person a professor, does some research, okay? And they want to let the world know what they found in their research. How does the professor do that? They could post it on social media, but that won't go very far, right? And it's not really credible, more importantly. They could try to promote it to a newspaper or a magazine, but they're probably not going to look at that research unless it has been peer-reviewed first. Peer review means that the professor, scientist, doctor, whoever we're talking about, sends their research to the journal. The journal doesn't make an editorial decision. The journal basically then sends it out to a panel of experts, other experts in that same field who say, yes, this is good, this should be published, or no, this is shoddy research, it should be not published. Or sometimes they say, well, it's okay, but it needs some rewriting, and they send it back for rewrites. Okay. Scholarly books are like journals, except they're on a book level, right, in terms of their size. A scholarly book will be a university press book. So you have to look at who the publisher is. Harvard University Press, Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, University of California Press, University of Michigan Press, Mesa College, scratch that. Mesa doesn't have this. We don't do research. Any book with a university press publisher or any peer-reviewed journal will do. Keep in mind that the word journal in the title does not automatically make it an academic journal. The Wall Street Journal is a newspaper. It's not a peer-reviewed journal. Ladies' Home Journal is a magazine, not a peer-reviewed journal. Keep that in mind. Again, if you're asking the question, how will I find this? Use the Mesa College Library website and watch my Triangle of Research videos. I don't have time to rehash everything that's in them. It's a 3-video presentation. Obviously, that's pretty lengthy. Please watch that, okay? Then everything needs to be in MLA format in presentation and documentation, including correct works cited list. This is mandatory. It may not be in any other format, and the format needs to be good. I mean, maybe not perfect, because I understand that mistakes are made. It's hard to be perfect with MLA. But if you're relying on some kind of online service to make your works cited page for you, I'm going to just say one thing. If there are any mistakes in it, you get the grade, not them. So if I say something is wrong because it doesn't meet MLA format, you can't say, well, that's what the website told me it should be. I need you to be able to double and triple check so that you yourself know what's going on. Okay? So you can check with the MLA format sheet that I passed out. You can check with all the online resources that have been connected to this class on the web links section of Canvas. And some of you may have your own MLA handbook. I did make it a recommended text for this class. You can check it with that. Okay. So there we go. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to visit me during my office hours to have a conversation about this, or to send me a message via Canvas. Good luck.